Hi everyone, welcome to Hot Pot Talks. My name is David, this is my co-host Jen Sunshine, and today we have a special guest, Diane Roberts. Diane, do you want to introduce yourself and our guest today?
Yes, I am Diane, and I am the Artistic Director of the Arrivals Legacy Project. I'm really so excited to be here. I want to introduce our special guests today, Neelu, Anand, and Rosemary, Georgeson, who are dear friends, and I think you'll enjoy the conversation.
So, Diane, I wanted to ask you, because we've been having this conversation for quite a while, and you've mentioned wanting to bring these two together. Yeah, can you tell me a bit about that?
Well, the first time I met Neelu, I automatically thought, oh, Neelu and Rose need to get together, just because of their relationship to food. I met Neelu as part of the Cultivating Kin project, when Neelu was cooking so beautifully for us, and you could smell the smells, and there was an art in the cooking. And then I've worked with Rose over the years, where food is so much a part of the work that we've been doing together in community, and with our arts practice as well, and the legacies that we've been sort of, I guess, stirring up through the stories that we've been digging into. It just felt like that there was a natural synergy, and I'm so glad that this worked out.
Thank you very much for connecting us.
I love what you said about not measuring.
Yes, I seldom measure anything. I do cooking classes, and I always ask, do you guys want me to measure? And I also always think about cooking as an art. You can play around with it. So it's not like something that, have to just create your own, make your own art. So that's how I feel.
Well, what was it like cooking next to each other just now? And what were you gabbing about earlier?
Everything from food to kids.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's different things. So much that I want to learn from her. It's just fascinating to see how I'm scared of fish, cooking fish and deboning it, and she's so natural at it. And you were just saying that dairy wasn't introduced until late, right? So, but in our culture, milk was a very big thing. Dairy was a very big thing, and that also brings me to you were asking about the ghee. So it was the whole process of when I was growing up too. I would go with a pail and to a nearby, just 15 minutes walk, and people have had their buffaloes, and you take your pail, they kind of milk it right in front of you. You bring it unpasteurized milk, you boil it, and then you take the cream out, keep the cream for a couple days, and then you churn it into butter. And so that's whipped butter, which we normally eat with roti, because there was not bread. There were no ovens until I came here. I was not introduced to oven. Oven was a foreign thing to me. So milk was very big in our culture. So milk, then you make yogurt, then you make a lot of yogurt dishes, and so, but no fish.
And we had fish and no dairy.
Yeah.
We didn't have the things that we take for granted nowadays, like the flour and grains and stuff like that.
And what makes a traditional food a traditional food?
Well, we've been living on clams for thousands of years. So that's where I call it one of our traditional foods. It's always been there for us.
Right.
Excuse me, Neelu. Sure.
So it's of this land, of this territory.
Yes.
Yeah.
This definitely of this land and this territory. Everything we had just came from right out there. We had, when contact, we got bacon. We had bacon grease, which flavored everything. We would have ooligan. You know, people have been fishing ooligans here since the beginning and rendering them down for the grease and that. So we did have a form of grease, but it was from the ooligan fish, which is known as candlefish. And I was raised up mostly with my grandmother, and I've spent a lot of time in the kitchen with my dad and my grandmother, watching them and listening to them, and stories were shared.
There we go.
So all those years sitting in a kitchen watching them do exactly what I'm doing right now, and spending time with my dad on the water. I working around the smokehouse with them. So I've been working with fish for as long as I can remember.
It's very different from our, like everybody, like even now, Punjab, like they grow wheat. And so it's like everybody had wheat in their house. So then you go to the mill, you get flour, and then we had potatoes and all the vegetables, because it's also really hot in India. So it's not like there is seasonal fruit and vegetables, but it's more like it keeps on coming. So meat wasn't a thing. So and sunflower and then oil from the vegetable oil. So meat wasn't, it's still not a thing. So, and also because it's like in India, like you don't eat, like now it's starting to get a little bit common, like, pork and beef, but nobody ate those for religious practices. So there's basically chicken, and like lamb was very expensive, so it was like a thing that if people have a lot of money, they would eat that. But it would say, why do you need to kill chicken? Because it gives you eggs, So it wasn't like, I kind of grew up more vegetarian than meat ever. So I still get lost when there's meat around me, and I don't even know, I didn't go to school for the same reason, because it was like, I can't touch that. So but then I am getting, I won't eat it, but I can touch it, now, and then little bit, I would say, getting, okay, I can flip it, and I can
Some of the compromises we make in this business when we work with food. Nowadays we have to make a lot of compromises.
That's true.
I think about colonization and the big C word, and who are maybe little c, could call it little c, diminish it. But there's this, just thinking about, when you talk about wheat and dairy didn't come into the diet, and it was kind of forced into our cultures because it was cheaper. And it reminds me of seeing a film where, because you talk about how milk is used, and you're talking about every part of the process of making milk is used.
Yeah.
Ghee is the so that there's an honoring of the whole thing, not just taking a piece and extracting.
Well, I'm remembering what you said about how, I can't remember what you said exactly, when your family was going out, and then you'll put some of that clam back, right? Just to take what you need, but it seems like there's such a depletion now. Can you talk a little bit more about that practice and how that looks, what that looks like, you know, with your family?
I don't know how to describe it because we just always do it. It's so automatic with us. When we have any kind of fish, we have what's left over, we always have to take it back so that we're asking for them to come back. When a lot of things that we do that people don't understand, like turning over a beach, rejuvenates it. It rejuvenates the sand and the life that's down there. So we're always giving back, and when we went to get these clams, we cleaned them right on the beach, so everything was left there.
Yeah.
We didn't take anything away from its where it belonged, because that's their home right there. It was interesting to hear you just speak, because I was thinking about what we were just talking about. Like, there's the process, the honoring, and everything is used. And when I look back at when the old ways, when we go fishing, every part of the fish was used. The bones were used for needles. The skin was tanned for leather. I actually have a salmon leather bracelet someone made. My dad called it poor man's leather. But every part of it was used. Everything was ate. Everything was honored.
The irony of that too is now, like, that practice is now woven into like sustainability practices, and what you call poor man's leather is now being, you know, reappropriated by different industries, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. So I was just doing a talk about some of this stuff, and there was a person up before me, and she was talking about the same thing, but like they just discovered it. Really?
Yeah, there's a restaurant in Bombay that I went to many years back. They have 150 kind of parathas, and all vegetarian. Cheese and garlic, and just paneer and spinach, and then you can put lentil, dry lentil. You can put whatever you want to. It's like a blank canvas, and you can play around with it.
I have a question. I heard a little bit from both of you about when you guys are making your dishes, some of the memories or stories that were, or recipes that are passed down, or practices that are passed down. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
We start with our mother's bed.
Sure, like it's mine is very simple. It's like whatever, because there was always flour there, and we made the roti, and it was like if we had nothing in the house, we had flour, so we'd just make the roti with like ghee. We always had ghee. We always had the flour, so we don't need many ingredients. And in summer we would have mangoes, and we had pickle. And I remember taking in my lunch box just the roti and the pickle, or when we went out playing, my mom was like a terrible cook, but she knew how to make roti, right? So, but that was something that they do, and then roll it out like a burrito kind of thing. And like, you don't want to sit there and play, and you want or eat, and you want to run around and play. So it was like, here's the roti, like a burrito, eat it. So it would be like running around and just having that. So it's like a comfort food, it's like always there. It's not something that, and it's not always with potatoes. It's like whatever we have. And there's so many different kinds. Like if we, it's also like we also use everything in a way, we make dal, which is lentil. So whatever is left, just like instead of water, you put lentil and make your dough. And so you have your protein there and your roti there, and like nothing much you have to do. And like, so roti kind of brings like cultural, like, and then it's also like, it's different ways of saying, like, it's just like a bread, right? So you can say, oh, it's focaccia bread, and it's white bread, and it's sourdough bread, and it's that bread. So it's like different names, but a general name is bread. So a general name for our parantha or roti or naan was like, even now, when we have to have food, like when I call my kids, like, okay, come, let's eat roti. So that's the normal thing. And roti doesn't mean a bread, doesn't mean like, it's like even if we have rice, even if we have pasta, even if we have Mexican food, it's like roti is something that you say as, come and eat roti. So nobody is going to say, come and eat pasta. So it's that's a very common thing. So it's like kind of, okay, food time.
Right.
So yeah. So
When I've been working in the East Side, I've been doing stuff like this and bringing food in. I like to do it for the people that don't get their own home traditional food from their own place.
yeah.
And you can see it, the difference that it makes for people to have their own foods. And lots of people are from the coast here and they don't get to have clams.
Yeah.
And if they bring in clams, we see that.
Joy in their eye.
And the sharing that comes out of them when we're all working together and the work that we're doing, it's amazing. I think you've written plays about it.
Yeah.
With that, we were doing Day of the Dead years ago, and I was doing some research into bread, different types of bread, and every indigenous culture in the world has their own form of bread.
Yeah.
Ours is fry bread. Because we like our grease. Fry bread, we bake it, we fry it. The stories that come with it too. I was just remembering your question. When I was a kid growing up, and my dad and my grandma were really good cooks. And I was always with my grandparents. Spent a lot of time with them growing up. So I was always hearing stories between Dad and Grandma, talking back and forth. Dad talking about where he's been on the boats, what he was fishing, where stuff came from. And I learned a lot about being on the water through that and just watching what they all did, because the movement, sometimes they were so gentle with things, and then sometimes they just beat the crap out of it. And there was all these different layers to what they were doing. And it was always had a pot of rice on the back of the stove, that the cast iron frying pans were out. So for me, it's this memory that comes back of being a child. I've never taken a cooking lesson. I just grew up with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like pot of rice, like also we would boil rice and take the starch out and then use that starch as for ironing, ironing starch. So we would use that too. So we would never waste anything. Yeah. So, and like my dad used to tie turban, which because he was also in the Air Force at a time where he's been in wars and stuff, and they had to just put it on, didn't have time to properly tie it, so it was always starch. So take it out, starch my turbans, take it out and starch your whatever, clothing. So just starch it, iron it, and I was like, yay. Okay, so yeah, and same thing, you take the wheat, the husk went back to the buffaloes, and grind it, and so it was every little part. And even I remember we only had a small garden bed, and we would cook what was out there. Oh, there's 2 eggplants. Okay, well, we'll put a potato in there. So make it like, because always had potatoes and onions. So, there's only a few okra. So like, okay, so let's break that up. So it was not like something that, we have to make, wasn't like planned, like not like here, like you have to go, okay, what are we making for the week? Like,
Yeah.
it was like, okay, what is out there? Let's just break it and make it. So,
Right.
yeah, very fresh.
What do you want? What do you want to tap into with your food, and what do you want to remember?
It's a beautiful question.
For me, I want to remember my family, a way of being that gets lost in the food that we eat over here. It takes that away from us.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I think it's just a necessity of life, and I feel that just generally, like, people should know how to cook, because when they go out and eat, everything is so processed and it's deteriorating everyone's health. So it's something that, like, I cannot, like, insist enough that everybody should know how to make food with real ingredients, not processed ingredients. So that's what I feel that people need to do more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got an opportunity to make bannock with a bunch of teenagers, 13, 14-year-olds, and there was 2 girls in there and 5 boys. Those boys just rocked at making the bannock. The girls, it was total chaos. I had to share that.
Oh, that's great.
That's pretty cool.
I think one of my biggest takeaways is simple is also really important. Like, and it's, and when I say simple, I think about the ingredients. There are so few ingredients in both of the dishes that you made, and everything was just so flavorful that we don't have to overdo it. We don't have to
Yeah.
make something. We just let the food take the shape that it needs to take.
Yeah.
And that's what I witnessed. And
Yeah. And thank you for introducing me.
yeah,
Your neighbors,
I expect more to come.
Yes.
Because even the sharing of stories, like, there's
Yeah.
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 so beautiful.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. And
Yeah, this was fun.
Sorry, David and Jen. Sorry about that. Sorry, there's no more. So sad. So sad.